Hi, Jeff Bluevman with Practically Tactical, and I'm here today with Steve Fisher of Sentinel Concepts.
That was so awesome. I
Thanks,
don't know
bro.
what that was.
I didn't even rehearse that, and you know because
we did it one take. That's all.
One take wonders. Today we're going to be talking about this nifty, handy-dandy Glockcraft defensive applications trigger, which I know nothing about, so we're going to both learn this on the fly, which I'm excited for. I'll try to ask questions that you guys would want to hear. So tell us a little bit about this company and this trigger and all that.
You know, it's kind of funny. I have a lot of Glocks, like, you know, everybody should, obviously. Glocks and 1911s. It's pretty much all I have. Well, and a CZ and a few other cool toys. But
you have a lot of.
I have a lot of toys. I'm not gonna lie. So I was out recently in Arizona doing a class out there. Stepped out some of my good friends over at Robar, Freddie Bush and the crew there, and Robbie Barkman, who owns the place, and been friends for a long time. So they're like, hey, we're working with this company, Glockcraft. We're doing these new triggers with them. You know, it has, you know, some of the proprietary MP3 coatings. It's more of a flat-faced fit. Flat-faced design,
right,
which I'm a big fan of personally, as well knows in my ARs and my 1911s. I run a lot of Glock triggers. I'm not a slave to any of them particularly. I've got triggers from Zev, SSVI, Agency. I saw these sitting in their shop. I was like, oh, well, hey, there's another Glock trigger to formulate an opinion on. So why not buy a couple? Bought a couple. Said, you know, try them in a few different guns, see what they do, see how they work, see how they perform. So this is going to be kind of actually the first test for me with them and install this. So far, I like it. I like the looks of it. I like the design. You know, I mean, it's a trigger. You know, it's on a fulcrum like every other Glock trigger. So put in the gun, going to shoot it, put a lot of rounds on it, see how it performs. Like I said, I use a lot of triggers currently from a lot of manufacturers. And, you know, it's just one of those things. You don't know what you don't know until you try them all, see what you like best, see what works for you and your guns. Currently, you know, it's just kind of another deal to try. It's you know, it's probably nothing super revolutionary. It's, you know, their design. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm just, you know, looking forward to shooting it.
Cool. I'm going to read what's on the front because this sounds like some interesting stuff. All safeties remain fully functional. That's muy importante para mí, para ti, para nosotros. It's like the only thing I remember how to see in Spanish.
That's awesome.
Oh, and also, this is like the hardest thing I know. Para usted, estos terminará mal.
That just made me feel all warm and fuzzy.
It means for you, informal, this will turn out bad.
That's hot.
Isn't that cool?
I'm just saying that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the thing. Helps eliminate pre-ignition push, mechanically shortened pre-travel and over-travel, and I see that it's non-adjustable, which I like.
Yeah.
I like, you know, just do it for me, brah.
Just put it in the gun, let's make it work, and that's it. I don't want to adjust
fewer things that can come out.
Screws and dials and knobs and twisty things and stuff.
Flat-faced for ultimate control and safety. Quick 3-minute installation. I'm actually going to do the installation so you guys can see how
under 3 minutes. So.
In under 3 minutes. I'm going to go should I go as fast as I can and speak as fast as I can?
No.
So what I'm doing is
no, don't confuse me. The thing that I find interesting about that is these safeties are still intact. There's a lot of trigger companies out now that are bypassing certain things or shortening those, and that can cause an issue. Especially if the guns are hard use, duty use triggers, things of that nature, or not the most experienced shooters.
Right.
With good trigger control, obviously the Glock should not fire until the trigger is depressed by deactivating that little lever tabby thingy that you pull when you're applying pressure straight back into the rear. That makes the gun go bang. But you'll see where they're maybe, you know, deactivating, where they're catching up on the plunger, where they're riding that to the very thin razor's edge.
I think that's a bad idea.
I think it's a bad idea for a defensive gun, especially on a defensive gun or carry pistol. Competitors' guns, competition gun, you know, there's some leeway, there's some little edges there you can really get away with to help that. Obviously,
but my gun points at my junk.
You know, yeah, so
yeah.
You know, it's actually, I want to maintain all the critical functions of the handgun, and that trigger should do the same for me.
Okay. Cool. Well, and question for you, why do you prefer, if you will entertain the question, a flat-faced trigger as opposed to a curved trigger?
Again, it's kind of a personal preference thing, but I like the feel of the flat-faced trigger. No matter where my finger lands in that trigger, I have kind of the same amount of leverage. It also gives me more leverage, which essentially feels like a lighter trigger press while maintaining the same weight that it should. It allows me, I find, better trigger placement, finger placement on, you know, being a fulcrum type trigger instead of a slide like on a 1911, where we have found in a lot of others over the years that, once you get to here, it starts to create some issues. But when we trap it and we go flat to flat, again, the contact, that surface area of pressing it straight back to the rear really helps with a lot of issues that people have with pulling shots left or, shots right, depending on how they fire the gun, if they're left-handed or right-handed shooters or bilateral shooters like myself, that I want flat-to-flat surface contact. I want as much surface area with that flat-to-flat contact, whether I'm wearing gloves, naked fingers, whatever the case may be. I want to be able to trap that trigger and depress it straight back to the rear. And I find that by having a flat face, it allows me that position. It allows me to pull it straight back as it should without having that curvature where the finger kind of naturally wants to just roll into wherever it kind of feels on a flat face. Doesn't matter if I'm tip, distal joint, or splitting the difference between the two. It gives me the same consistent feel and press no matter where the trigger finger lands on it.
Gotcha. And so then, that was going to be my next question, because not everybody has hands as big as you.
Correct.
They may just be just the tip.
Yes. More leverage. I saw what you did there. It was awesome.
So it's all about the subtleties, or not so subtle.
Shorter hands, big wide guns like the Glock 19, Glock 17. Some people have issues. Smaller palms, fingers. I've got big mitts.
Right.
I can literally get inside this gun and be like all the way here and depress the magazine release. A lot of people can't do that. Some always have to constantly readjust, reposition. They may only be able to get to the tip of the finger on that trigger. So having the flat face gives me a good position on the trigger, whether it's tip, splitting the pad, or going to that first distal joint, trapping that trigger, pulling it straight back to the rear.
Gotcha.
So that allows you some consistency from shooter to shooter as well.
Okay. So it can help kind of any shooter, given they like the feel of a flat face.
Correct. Again, it's a personal preference. I find the advantages of it better suiting to myself. Others may not. That's your choice. And, did you notice the current trend kind of across the industry is now flat face triggers pretty much in everything. So you're seeing this with a lot of the Glock trigger manufacturers, the aftermarket guys that are making them. And like I said, I've got them from 4 or 5 different manufacturers right now, and they're all proving to be really good, really reliable triggers that have maintained the safeties. I try to avoid any trigger that doesn't maintain the safeties. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the interesting things to me. Like I said, I'm kind of a gear junkie when it comes to this Olympics. I'm like, oh, cool, new trigger. Let's try it in a gun and see what it makes the gun feel like.
Yeah, sure.
Because pretty much what everybody's trying to do now is get a 1911 type feel trigger in a Glock. Well, then get a 1911. Okay, get a good 1911, but
but if we can replicate it and get it as close to that
and
for the Glock
giving you an advantage in accuracy or your speed, why not?
Sure.
So yeah, put it in. We'll see what that's cool.
All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove
Take the grip force.
the grip force adapter. So just drive that. Yeah, that has to come off. And then I'm going to drive out the rear pin. So, and look, so I don't lose shit, because I lose stuff all the time. Time stamp, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and push up. This makes it a lot easier to drive out. To drive out the this pin, I'm going to kind of just drive that guy out. If I just manipulate that slide stop a little bit, and I'm going to pull that out so I don't drive when I'm driving out the other one. I don't want to mess up this little springy guy. Okay, and drive out the top one. What is this, a Gen 3?
Yes.
Can't believe you're even letting me,
I know,
touch your gun.
I'm scared right now.
I like the way that you're kind of wringing your hands. One name says it all, right? I'm going to pull out the thing.
That gooey mess of it.
Yeah. What's in here, slip?
Probably. That gun's been passed around quite a few times to some buddies to try and use. So
I'm going to remove the trigger and trigger bar assembly, and then I'm going to take this, kind of just clip it right in there, and this is all you need to do, kind of ride it underneath there, and that makes contact. It looks like you got a ghost connector in there. Very nice.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that. So
don't you lose track of what you got in what gun?
I do. I absolutely do. And who knows where else that gun has been and who's used it. So
then I'm going to drop it. I don't know
what they've done to my guns.
Right. And then I'm going to put the locking block in. I can figure out the angle. It's kind of hard when you're watching yourself. There you go. And then I'm going to put this pin in, the top pin, which I don't really know why they put that in there.
Because it holds the locking block in place.
Oops, wrong pin.
That was the one for the grip force.
Yeah, that's the one for the grip
I
force.
was going to say, but it fits, so now you know if you ever need a spare, you can use ones for
Right.
grip force.
There you go. So that guy goes in there. Okay. And then I'm going to drop in my slide stop. And then this is kind of like the little pane. I'll see if I can do this in one take. Yep. Hey! Chrome is shining brightly upon me. I hope this doesn't look like hell. And then I'm going to put this guy in. And then slide the grip force adapter right over one side and the other side. And I think that was probably less than 3 minutes.
It was like 1:37.
Wow. And there you have it. And then we'll do a function test. So we got all of that. I'm going to go. You want that slide stop to go down, obviously. I'm going to put the slide on the gun and check the reset. Gun is resetting. It feels nice. You can see how, my bad, how much pre-travel is eliminated. Like, I'm going to kind of do my pinky here. So that's where you're hitting the wall almost immediately. And then there's no over travel. So that's a pretty, it feels nice. There you go. And so there you have the installation of the Glock Craft defensive application trigger. So last thoughts in closing. So you just had a couple reps of dry firing. Any initial impressions?
Really clean, very crisp. What I noticed is it doesn't change the weight. You know, the weight still feels really consistent all the way through the trigger press. It's not excessively light. It's not like running a 3.5 pound. It's just very consistent all the way through. The weight still feels in that 5 pound range, which I like. I can deal with a heavier trigger as long as it's a very clean, crisp trigger.
Right.
It's very consistent, as you were saying. You know, that's what
Like
I'm after.
Predictable.
Yeah,
trigger.
it's very predictable. Everybody's like, well, it should be a surprise break. No, I want that shot to break when I want it to break, when my sights are perfectly aligned, and I know I'm ready to press that trigger, and I want it to break when I want it to break. Not a surprise break. It's not a freaking sniper rifle. Let's get past that. It's a handgun. So I want that trigger to break when my sights are aligned. I'm intentionally ready to deliver that shot, and it will break at that point when I want it to. And that's what I'm liking so far. It's pretty nice.
Cool. Well, let's run it a little bit, and hopefully we'll get your thoughts a little bit later down the line.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I'm Jeff with Practically Tactical. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to Alliance PD for Alliance PD Range for hosting us and giving us space and everything like that. And special thanks to Mr. Stephen Fisher of Sentinel Concepts. Thanks a lot. Always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.